10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Through Black and My Eyes for this very special show. I don't think anyone's doing this, questioning what is going on at Newcastle United. Still got the cough. It's killing me. Evening all, welcome to look behind what may or may not be happening behind the scenes at NUFC. Please like, share, subscribe, help the channel grow. It's all free. Join from 99p or donate using the Super Chat. Raffle tickets are also available. Draw on August the 4th. So, the raffle, guys. All for Stanley Deaf Club. And for Lily Foundation, who deal with families who are going through a rough time because the kids have been born with a rare disease and it doesn't get a lot of publicised or funding on things like that. But these are the prizes for the raffle. They're absolutely incredible. Sorry about coughing. Fully signed squad shirt from 2022-23 home top, a retro Kevin Keegan, Peter Beardsley, Chris Waddle signed top, John Carver signed training top, 3 Newcastle merchandise tops, a Newcastle metal badge, and £25 gift vouchers, basically. And there they are. The gift vouchers are in my locker, and the Lewis Miley top is still waiting to be delivered back to me. Right. This cough is a nightmare. Please adhere to community guidelines and enjoy the show. So thank you very much, Leslie, for all of that. I don't know where to start. I mean, I am expecting Gary. It was his idea. He was meant to be here. Don't know where he is. And Martin also hasn't turned up yet. So I'm a bit surprised. I did say 8:15. So hopefully they'll be joining me soon. The reason why I want Martin on the show, obviously being a City fan, he's seen all of this develop through his club. So he can, see whether what's happening at Newcastle is right or is wrong. And it gives us a chance to understand what more to expect in the future as well. Martin is a busy guy, though, and we'll see what happens. Blade, Lauren's in the house listening as well. It's great. David's in the house as well. Welcome, David. Gary, Leslie, everyone. Right, let's bring Gary in. Better late than never.
I didn't realise the time, mate. I was upstairs sorting the bed and I've just ready. Shit, I'm late.
Always late, this guy. Always late.
I know.
So we are. Honestly, this cough is killing me. Martin's going to be 5 minutes. He said. I've got one more day left of medication tomorrow, and I've still not got rid of it. Watching you while making the tea. Brilliant. I don't think 5 days was long enough, to be fair. Right. This is going to be a difficult show to do because, let's face it, we are questioning probably one of the greatest times in Newcastle United's life. There's a lot been going on behind the scenes. And I think the reason why, I mean, obviously you mentioned it to me and we started talking about it and we thought we've got to do a show on this because people need to talk about this and they need to get things off the chest other than a cough. But the thing that got me, someone said to me, do you know we've had more CEOs than signings in the last 3 windows? Which is
he's right.
Ridiculous, isn't it? Absolutely ridiculous. So we're going to have a deep dive. I know I need to go back to the doctor. That night shifts the next 2 nights. We're going to have a deep dive in. You sent me a list of all the people who have been in the background. So I've picked a few out. I haven't picked them all out. But we need to start with Amanda and Murdad. because they were the shining light, weren't they?
Yeah, I think there's not one Newcastle fan that wouldn't admit that we wouldn't be where we are now if it hadn't have been for them two. They were the key to the whole takeover. They got piffed to buy with, and even when they took the club over, I felt the club. I mean, before I go on about this, I was going to say this anyway, but you've practically said it. I feel we are talking about this because we are in a period where Newcastle are like they've been the best they've been for a long, long time. They've won a trophy, Champions League again. But I truly believe the reason we are where we are right now is because of Eddie Howe and them players. And that's I personally believe that. And yep, if did what they did in the beginning, I get that. But anyway, I was going to say that. So this isn't me just bashing the club because the club are in a good place right now, but something's not right. Anyway, Amanda.
I mean, it could be better. I mean, this is the best time since Sir John Hall. We know what he was like. He used to there was no PSR back then, but he would go out and we would be buying record-breaking transfers. Shearer, Michael Owen. We were breaking transfer records all the time, and now we're never going to break the transfer records because they're so high now. But we're back in that bracket again. So I've got so what I basically did is I went away and did some research on every single person that I wanted to for this show tonight, and about what they've done for the football club. And the reason why I wanted to start here is because there's so much to go through with these two. And it beggars the question to me is why they're still not at the football club. So this is what I've got from them. So I'll try and do it without coughing too much. Amanda and Murdad played pivotal roles in transferring Newcastle United during their tenure as co-owners from October 2021 to July 2024. Key achievements, obviously orchestrating the takeover was the first thing you mentioned there. £305 million back Saudi takeover. The club is now worth £1 billion. And while they were still with the club, it was on the road to that £1 billion, wasn't it? They were up to 700 million, I think the club was valued at when they were still.
Anyway. Yeah.
And then stabilising the club in 21-22 in their first transfer window, there was £72 million spending spree on key players like Kieran Trippier, Bruno Guimaraes, Chris Wood, which all helped us stay in the league. Nick Pope as well, of course, and Dan Burn. Obviously, Dan Burn, what a hero he's turned out to be. They also then saw Champions League qualification, and then we beat Paris Saint-Germain and we got to our first cup final with them there. Record signing in Alexander Isak. They were behind that as well. Buying the women's team, getting it back. There's another one. But the main one for me, and the one thing that I think is missing from the football club now, which you probably agree with, and most people will, community and fan engagement. She was known for Mandy. When she spoke, we listened. Yeah, and she was the voice. Yeah, she was the heart of everything. We got stick from our Saudi friends because we said she rescued our football club when they say, well, we bought it. So we got a bit of a thing, but their hands-on approach, especially in the early years, filled critical gaps in the club's management and set a foundation for a long-term success. Despite challenges like injuries and Sandro Tonali's suspension, which saw the club finish 7th, their departure was met with mixed sentiment, which it was. Bruno loved them. Eddie Howe loved her. The players seemed to really get more. I think all the players would never have a bad word to say about her. But that was their achievements, and then you go on to obviously. We'll talk about them first of all. I mean, that's a very glowing list, isn't it? When you think about what's happening now.
I mean, in the beginning, like I said in the beginning, the communication was there. She made me believe Newcastle United were going to take on the world.
Yeah,
that's what Amanda did. There was constant communication, whether that was on Twitter or through news or through. They even went on radio stations. But she was on radio stations.
Yeah.
She was a very, very passionate person for this football club, even though she wasn't a Newcastle fan.
On the trains, going down to away games, drinking with fans and stuff like that as well.
Well, I mean, and then you look at like Ashley used to do that in the beginning, and I get that, blah, blah, blah. But I think since Amanda and my dad have left, there's zero communication. We get the odd little moment from whoever, Darren Eales or Paul Mitchell might have come out, but it seems to me like since Amanda left that club, one, the communication is completely gone. And I think just in general, it doesn't seem like a happy camp to me. I mean, I could be completely wrong here, but
we'll come on to that a little bit later on, because we've obviously got more people to go through. But sticking with Amanda and Dad and about their achievements, what's the one thing that stands out for you? What was the one thing that really...
It was the harmony at the club for me. It wasn't the fact of what they'd done, the players they bought. Yeah, the players they bought were the big reason why we're on now. But it was when they were on the pitch celebrating Eddie Howe on a constant basis in big games. They were the face. They were always in the changing room. They never missed a game, home and away. Doesn't matter where it was, they were always there. If they missed a game, it was because there was a personal reason or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was my number one with her. It was the constant communication and harmony she brought to that football club.
Yeah.
And like I said, I felt Newcastle United were back. And she said it. She said it in her own words, we're back. And that's the number one for me. It's one more, can you say? Yeah, that's my number one.
Right, let's bring Martin in. How you doing, Martin? It's good to see you.
Evening. All right.
Evening. Yeah, very good, mate. So obviously, I explained at the start of the show the reason why you're here. We like you, but you've also been there. You've seen your football club go from, Division 2 all the way back into the Premiership, be taken over, and then winning everything. So you know what it's like to see how a club progresses through its stages, and you can tell us whether we're talking crap or what to expect, or whether we're just being spoiled brats for talking about what is going wrong in our hierarchy itself. So we just started off with Amanda and Murdad, and they were there for the club for 3 years at the very start of it. She brokered the deal. She was a part owner. Things went a little bit sour. But when you were watching the takeover yourself as someone, looking from the outside, and then you heard what Amanda was saying and what she wanted Newcastle to become, did you think, Jesus, this is going to happen for them now? Or did you think it was all just mouth?
You want me to be honest?
Yes, that's why you're here.
I didn't believe a lot was. I thought it was a bit of PR.
Yeah. Even in her actions, when you've seen what she tried to deliver.
Yeah, no. Listen, I don't see. I'm on the outside, but the one thing I always said was, because I had a lot of people saying, "City, they'll go on and they'll be the next City," and I went, "They won't."
No.
PSR was already in and rolling at that point.
Yeah.
This is the big thing between us, Chelsea, you.
Mm.
We had no PSR.
Yeah.
For 4 or 5 years. We were literally free reign. The same way United could spend a load of money, Chelsea could, you could when you spent 15 million on Shearer, etc.
Yeah.
That was what we were. So we could close that gap so quick.
Yeah.
To where we could literally close that gap up. PSR comes in, slams the doors. The trouble is, the rich are only going to get richer and everyone else is going to stay. That gap is never going to close.
Yeah.
It's never going to close. I said City got in before the drawbridge went up.
Yeah.
City got 100%. In, the drawbridge went up. And I know that isn't what people want to hear. That isn't what they want to think, but...
But we know that's happened because we're seeing it play out. But the thing is, when Amanda and Murdad were part of Newcastle, it looked like a happy football club. Could you see that from the outside?
Yeah, you could see the very difference, because I went up to Newcastle when Ashley was there, and I was handing out, going in, handing out the leaflets.
Yeah.
As you were doing back then. And then I've been up there since the takeover. And it is a very different atmosphere. But a good atmosphere doesn't make a world-class football club or team. Sorry, club you are, team you're not. You know, understand what I mean. I don't want to misplace words. It's difficult. It is very, very difficult, because what I'm going to say may offend some people. And it's not. I don't mean it in an offensive way. I'm one of these people, I try and give honesty. Some people don't like honesty, that's the problem.
Well, if you don't like what you hear, they don't think honesty is the best way sometimes.
Unless you give them what they want to hear. Let's say Newcastle are going to be the next Real Madrid.
Yeah.
I'm an arsehole to some people, you know what I mean? That's just the way.
You know what it is, right? There was a tweet put out, and it was Real Madrid's ground, and it was about the revenue, about how much they're making, every week or every year because of the way that the stadium was. And I put on the tweet, I retweeted, went, "That's the dream right there." And then someone literally underneath it went straight away, "What, you like that stadium?" It's like, no, I like the revenue, and that's the dream, to get the revenue up to like £300 million a year. But like, people think you know what you're saying, don't they? And they don't. And if it's not what they think you're saying, they take offense, don't they? And I was just like, why?
Yes, yeah. It's like people do this. We will do. Like people have said there, we will get there. We'll catch up. You'll never catch up to United, Real Madrid, and City. You're not going to do that.
No. You
will increase. You will improve. You've seen it now. United have been absolute. Can I swear on her? I don't know. I don't want to get your monetization done. United have been dog shit for 10 years. They still turn over one of the biggest revenues in world football.
Yeah. And that'll never go, because
so this is the point. This is the point I'm trying to say. Just that gap is never closing. The horse is bolted. It's gone. The horse bolted when PSR came in.
But the good thing is, though, Stefan shown us a way out of it, and he thinks PSR is dead because of the way Chelsea have handled their business, which is going to be very interesting. But that's a different story for a different show. We need to move on to the next person. Darren Eales came in. Now, sorry. Gary, I was excited about Darren Eales' appointment because I saw what he did in America. Took a club from zero to championship. He did it on a good budget, obviously easier to do. But he was the kind of person I thought would bring that extra leadership at club level that Amanda and Amanda didn't quite have. They had the publicly side of things. I thought Darren Eales would be perfect alongside them to run the football business, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm just going to quickly say this one before I go on about Darren Eales. Martin's 100% right.
I know he is.
and by what I mean is, when Newcastle got taken over, I never expected a City. I expected a Liverpool Brighton type of mould at the time. I don't know what's happened to Liverpool this season. They've just spent like God knows what, but normally Liverpool are a bit more like to buy somebody, blah, blah. But I think he's right. I think PSR's knocked everybody. Like, below that, it's knocked them. And it's not just us. We can't challenge the six, right? But the team's getting promoted. The team's getting promoted. They can't stay in the Premier League.
No.
Because they're going to spend a fortune, then try to stay in it, and then PSR's going to get them in a year's time. We're in a bracket now, Bas, for me, unless the rules change, where we are going to be top 10. Right? Yeah. Top 10. That's what we are. We're in the bracket of top 10.
We'll threaten every now and again, won't we?
Yeah, we'll threaten. And we'll get Champions League every now and then we'll possibly win a trophy every now and then. But that's what we'll do. We'll never go down. We'll never be in the, I don't think, 14 below. Anyway, but that's what I think. I think he's 100% right. Darren Eales. Eales is a funny one for me because we don't know when he got ill because he has got a horrendous illness. So, and he is leaving soon. But I was excited at the beginning, but as the months went on, I wasn't really seeing much from him. And I think there was other people. Well, put it this way, I wasn't a big fan of Dan Ashworth, but I always thought Dan Ashworth was doing a bit more than him. Anyway.
He's the next person we're coming on to.
Right. But Darren Eales, for me, what did he come in as? What was his job role?
CEO.
Right. Yeah. So basically what he did was when he came in, he fell out with Amanda, didn't he?
Well, we think he did, yeah.
Yeah, that's the rumours that he fell out with Amanda and obviously hired a few certain people. I think the last year and a half it's been a bit of a disaster. I don't think he's been the worst there, but like I said, it could be something to do with his illness as well. But I was expecting more because Darren Eales built Atlanta right from top to bottom, and he did a brilliant job at it. But we went. It's like we got a rocket and then we went like that. And then all of a sudden we just stopped because PSR took over. But then Darren Eales was promising, we're going to do this and we're going to do this. We're going to get this and it never come. This was about a year and a half ago. He did an interview.
Well, he has a few things that apparently he did. Eales contributed to infrastructure investments and strengthened the club's executive team, which obviously he brought in Dan Ashworth, Paul Mitchell. He, obviously a lot on the commercial side, so the Adidas deal, seller deal.
Sorry to interrupt. Seller Adidas and Noon for me were the easiest pissing sponsorship deals you could ever do in your life.
They were.
Noon and Seller were piff. Like the sound. Absolutely. Yeah. You didn't have to deal with that. Adidas was easy because we've had history with them. They know how many shirts we sold in the 90s. Absolutely 3 easy deals to do, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And whoever, they can take credit for it if they want, but we've heard it off a few people as well. Don't want to name names past that have said exactly the same thing. Like people who know the club, that they were easy deals to do.
Yeah.
And that's what I personally believe. Anyway, sorry for interrupting.
No, that's fine. Martin, did you know much about Darren Eales? Do you see any similar sort of mirror to what City did with him coming into Newcastle?
So I don't know a lot about Darren Eales. I know obviously he's got this, is it blood cancer?
Yeah,
situation.
Unfortunately.
You know, I do hope he gets sorted out. Wishing the best recovery. But no, I don't know. You know, my biggest thing with Darren Eales is, how do I put this in the best way? Paul Mitchell, Darren Eales, and others have all made statements kind of similar. But it's against what maybe Eddie Howe wants. Maybe it's against what the owners want. I don't know. Because each one has come out with statements which have kind of foreshadowed and warned what's coming down the road. Because I've only seen bits, and you say things like patience. We may have to sell. We may have to do this. We don't know. Let's see what happens. And that seems to get ignored by everyone. That gets ignored by every single person that walks in the door for some reason. So, and that's fine. So I don't know a lot about them, but obviously, for 2 people to say that comment, they've obviously seen something where they've gone, right, we do this, we can get going. But there seems to be a blockade somewhere. And that's what I think Gary spot on. There doesn't seem to be any harmony or consistency within this boardroom at the minute. They all want different things. And they all want to go different directions.
I'm not just saying this because Martin's on the show here. You compare us to Man City. I don't care what anybody says. Man City are run superbly from top to bottom. I don't care what anybody says. They can go on about charges and God knows what in the media. The way they sell, every young player they've got that they sell has got a sell-on clause. Every one of them.
Yeah.
They're always making money from something because they've built another store in Dubai that's making millions. There's just this constant improvement and getting better. And I know it's Man City, I get that, right? But they're just coming up with brand new ideas. And I just feel like we're just like going, Martin's right. Oh, we're going to do this. We need to do this. We might have to do this. It's like they've got it in their head, but they're not doing it. They're not acting on it. And it's weird. Honestly, it's weird when you listen to it. And they're all repeating themselves. Amanda was the only one who had a different opinion. And the rest of them, just like you said, copy each other.
What's this one say? If the club comes out and says we kept our current squad and not sold anyone, would that be a success? Not this window. Definitely not.
No.
Not the 3 windows where we haven't signed anyone, but different things. So again, I was very excited by Dan Ashworth coming in. I know you were as well, Gary. I know everyone was. Came in June 2022 till February 2024, which played out absolutely horrendous in the media with him going to Man United in the end. But the reason why we were so excited about him is because he was bringing the blueprint from Brighton to Newcastle. So we had the inside look at how they run their football club, because we knew our football club needed building from the bottom to the top again. As soon as the takeover happened, we needed our youth system back. We needed to be like Man City, being able to produce fantastic young players. And if they didn't make the grade, we could still make, 5-10 million a player from them by selling them to lower Premier League sides or to championship clubs or even going abroad. So Dan Ashworth, for me, was a very pivotal key to our backroom staff. And it was working out. I mean, he was here when we bought Isaac, Bruno, Botman, Gordon, Livramento, Nick Pope. He was behind some of these signings, and everything seemed rosy, didn't it? And then he fucked off.
Because a bunch of plebs came in, took him off and then sacked the bugger 6 months later.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's like, do you know what? I remember when Ashworth went at the time, and I'm thinking, just get rid of him, frigging snake. But after watching, obviously we'll talk about Paul Mitchell, but after watching the Mitchell debacle, I started realising what a decent job Ashworth did when he was here. He was involved in Tonali as well. I remember the pictures of him with Tonali. And clearly it was running better when Dan Ashworth was at the football club. And people might not want to admit that, but it's true. Transfers run better. And Ashworth didn't speak much. He didn't come out in the media often. He didn't need to, really. But because Amanda was doing all that. But obviously, I think since Ashworth left, it's hit a bit of a brick wall, to be honest, and it's going a bit up and down with more people coming in and more people going out. But it's definitely. I think that possibly has knocked us back a few years. That's my personal opinion. But what can you do about it? It's football. You don't know what's around the corner with it. Something you just got to deal with. It's
so true.
You've got to have backup plans, and whether a player leaves that you don't want to leave, somebody comes in with a mammoth bid, you accept it. You've got to have a backup plan for that player. And same with the CEO. You just don't know. Dan Ashworth, and I thought they were slow hiring. How long did it take for to get his get Mitchell in? How long did that take?
Wasn't it after his gardening leave finished?
Yeah.
Mitchell,
so that did quite quick on
July
that
2024, June 2025.
Right.
So he's been here nearly a year.
Right.
Which again is pretty poor, isn't it? Harvey Barnes and Alanga, that deal's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
Apparently it's just all talk. But however, for PSR reasons, if I was going to do that deal, I would sell Harvey Barnes for 60 million, buy Alanga for 60 million, and it looks better on the PSR books rather than just...
You're not going to get swaps anymore with PSR.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So we would
100%.
sell him for 60 million, buy Alanga for 60 million.
Yeah.
It looks like a swap, but it actually looks better on the PSR books. And that's how I would do the deal if that was
the biggest
happen.
problem is, Baz, I'll say this, is the biggest problem problem is Newcastle, when Manchester City got taken over, this is the thing that everyone forgets. They talk like we were sat in Division 2. Sheikh Mansour knocked on the door and went, "Hey, can we have a club?" We were in Europe already. We were already going. We were in the Europa League.
He had Mark Hughes as manager, didn't he?
Yeah, we were already going. We've been taken over by Taxing, which wasn't the greatest deal. You know, trust me. That you want to talk about deals? Wow. You know, maybe I'll do a Taxing shit on water. But I mean, seriously. And we also had, which is right or wrong, we had a stadium that was given to us by the council.
Right.
Yeah, maybe wrong. Fortunate, whatever you want. We had a stadium given to us by the council due to the Commonwealth Games that happened in Manchester that year.
Yeah.
Because what the Manchester City Council did not want was a white elephant sat on the door of this big spanking stadium used for 2 weeks and then goes to rot like you see around Europe or Japan or Asia or wherever you want to go. These stadiums are there. I've been to, when I went to the old Porto Stadium in Portugal, it's got grassroots sticking out of it. They don't know what to do with it because it's just stuck in the middle of nowhere. And that's what they didn't want. So they passed it on and they said anything over 34,000, which was your capacity in Main Road, you will pay rent on. Fine, not a problem. We pay rent to the council. But what we've done is we've bought it out and bought it out. We've built it. We've got the co-op live. We've got so much going into it. So that was part of the attraction. But we were already on the move at that point. And without PSR, we could catch up that quick.
Yeah.
We could. So, because, you know, we won the FA Cup, then we went into the Champions League, then we won the league. It was literally one after the other.
But you were also able to buy superstar names, weren't you, without having to worry about PSR.
Yeah. We could do that, but we already had an Alano. We already had all them in sort of a way to go. So it's a bit of a... Trying to compare us to Newcastle is a bit difficult because it was a very different era of football. PSR needs to go. I still think, by the way, there's never going to be a free-for-all. It's not going to be...
There'll be something there that...
Yeah, it's not going to be right, off you go, spend. And here's the other thing, spending means nothing, otherwise Chelsea would win everything.
Well, yeah, exactly. You've got to have the right...
You can spend does not mean that you automatically win everything. Because Man United have spent more than City. Chelsea has spent more than City, and they've won nothing.
I agree.
So because you can spend does not mean...
Well, they've won what did they win? It was the Conference Cup, wasn't it? Yeah, this is what I mean about some of the appointments you've made in the backroom staff. Like, do you, from what you've seen Newcastle appoint, obviously Dan Ashworth, I thought was a great appointment. Do you see any similarities? Like, were Newcastle trying to copy the Man City model as well as the Brighton model?
But they did come down to the City model. I know for a fact, and you know this, Baz, Amanda and a camp came to the CFA for a week. Walked around it, looked at the training ground, looked at everything. You've got to remember, we had our CFA up. You had nothing. You haven't got an academy system like that. You are literally starting from the bottom and build. Whereas City already had, we already had the first 3 floors in the building, complete and ready to go. So that's the hard situation. That is such the hard situation. We've got an academy which is still making money today. City don't have to sell players, or we do, but we make 50 to 100 million off academy kids, and some of them have never even put on a blue shirt. James Trafford, for example, the reason James Trafford is taking so long is we have a 20%
selling clause.
Hey, sorry, it's in the deal. 20%.
I mean,
that's
how much are you going to have on Cole Palmer if he ever leaves Chelsea? How much?
There wasn't any.
There isn't any, isn't there?
That was the only way we got the 50 to 60 mil on him.
Big upfront fee.
Yeah, we had to accept the bigger upfront fee.
I mean, it's every time you see it in the media, any time a player is going somewhere, Man City have got to sell on close. Every player I've seen it linked to someone. They don't sell their youngsters unless they've got one. Obviously, Cole Palmer or something else, but they don't do it.
Around the Premier League, if not Europe. It's absolutely full of City youngsters.
Yeah.
It's also full of former City coaches. Our coaches are all over the gaff. Maresca, Chelsea, Arteta, Arsenal. We've just lost Pichens to go to Braga. They're all over the gaff.
Yeah,
This is what gets the City fans when they say, "Oh, we hate you. We don't want to be like you. You're all copying us. You're all stealing our coaches and players. So we must be doing something right down this road."
There's a question for you. Was the government grants available, or did you owners fund it all? So, like, you know, the stuff around the ground that was built up and all that sort of stuff.
More council grants than government grants. We had a lot of help from the council. We had some, but owners don't put stuff in. You got to be careful of that. Owners get loans.
Yeah.
Be careful on that. Owners don't put their own money into it. They get a loan out against the club and on a very good interest rate sometimes. Yeah. That's how we've done the extension, the North Stand extension. It's not been done. We get a loan out at a really good business rate, claim it back. Listen, the days of owners sticking their hand in their own pocket and going, "Here's 10 mil, here's 20."
Yeah, look at Man United. It's all debt, isn't it? Because of that's how they do it.
But that's anyway, PSR. Debt isn't included in PSR.
Yeah, I know. Ridiculous. Anyway, we'll try and get back to the structure. So obviously Jamie Reuben is another one that, you know, he's very good at what he's done, like the way that he's helped the food bank, the way he doubles the donations on a day. But what's he actually done for the football club? And there's let's see what he's got. Community engagement. I mean, really? I mean, that's about that. The thing with when the Reubens came on side, we thought stadium, training ground, all this sort of stuff. And we don't really seem to be seeing it. There seems to be poor communication around what's happening with the stadium. Is it going to be bigger than what they first thought? What's actually happening with the training ground? I will still say it's going to happen at the racecourse and it'll be built there because they've got that land. But I've been a bit disappointed with the Reuben brothers personally. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I've been very disappointed with them. I expected. I mean, you're talking about like people who in their field are superb. They've even got, like you said, they've got areas they own around the northeast.
Yeah.
But we're coming up to 4 years now. Forget about the stadium. I get the stadium has got like planning problems, issues. That was never going to be sorted overnight. How haven't we got a new training ground in progress right now after 4 years? It's not like you can't find a building area. I mean, the local journalists heard 7-8 months ago that they were going to announce a training ground on, like, I can't remember where it was, but it was, I heard up Forest Hall and places like that. That's where they were looking at doing a training ground, but we've heard absolutely nothing. Yeah, they've made the training ground better now, but when you're talking about a training ground that was shitter than League Two frigging training grounds, I mean, Ashley, we had the players standing in frigging bins, man.
Wait a minute, I've seen Harry Kane standing in bins for Bayern Munich.
Are you joking?
We must have been onto something.
But the training ground was an absolute mess. But
it was.
I just where's the planning? Where's the planning for the training ground that they've said right at the beginning 4 years ago? We're going to build a new training ground. There's nothing. Absolutely bugger all. And like I said, I get the stadium, but training ground baffles. Honestly, I don't understand that. Sunderland and Middlesbrough, they've got better training grounds than us.
Yes.
And we've known that for years.
That's why we lose all the young players, because they go to Sunderland.
Yeah, because our training ground shit. But I mean, it's better now. It's much better than now, but it's still not good enough.
No.
I mean, God almighty. I mean, damn, think what Man City's looks like and Liverpool's looks like. God almighty. But I've been disappointed with him. I mean, Jamie Reuben was quite involved in the beginning when Amanda was there. When Amanda's left, he's disappeared. Yeah, he's completely disappeared.
He doesn't.
Yeah, I feel like I do more than Jamie Reuben. And it's like, honestly, I get his family aren't involved much. I don't think they wanted to be like massively involved, but I saw Jamie a lot. He was doing interviews, this, that, and the other when Staveley was here, but when she left, he just disappeared. I think he vanished. And you see him comment on Twitter, like every now and then, saying, well, good performance from the lads, but that's all you hear from him. Nothing else. And another bizarre one for me. Just don't understand.
I'll answer this one because I did put this question to Stefan when we first had him on. We cannot host our own tournament because it's against fair market value, and that is the reason why it won't happen. So Saudi can't have two Saudi teams and a Newcastle team who's owned by Saudi and say, right, here's a competition just for use free and 300 million goes to the winner, because the Premier League will not accept that as.
I bet you Chelsea could find a way to do it.
Chelsea probably could. Yeah, you're probably right, but that would never happen, unfortunately, because I did say that when we first took over and PSR first came into play. I said, why can't we do this? And Stefan shot it straight down and said, this is the reason why, fair market value. However, fair market value now, should we be going off what the competition of this Club World Cup has been done? Because they're giving, what was it, 100 million to the winner? So surely Saudi can come up with their own competition that goes to fair market value the same as that Club World Cup.
I mean, Martin might know this better, but don't you get like 3 million for winning a game or something? Isn't it something like that?
It is, yeah.
I mean that tournament I haven't watched any of it. I've just refused. But from what I've heard, there's been some absolutely shocking games in it.
There has been.
Don't ask me why that's on that, by the way. A StreamYard are looking into it.
All right, okay. Martin's actually doing a watch along at 1:30 in the morning for the Man City game. So if you're up at 1:30 in the morning and you want to watch some alternative commentary, go over to the Mancunian way and listen to. I mean, I wouldn't do it, to be honest with you, but there you go. I thought when City won that case, reply sponsorship Newcastle would, Amrico and Saudi.
No. You got to be careful on this. Yes, they did prove they were illegal. But what happened is, if you remember, City's opening line was, you go away and you do this properly. You make this all legal. City don't just want this done in a week or 2 weeks. So basically what the Premier League have done is they are going, all things were postponed. You're talking a while before this ATP stuff gets sorted out.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing I will say is I refuse to believe, right, you know, when City were going through their case, they said that Newcastle, who was the other one? There was Newcastle and somebody else representing City, right? And then you had the Red Cartel and all them against City. But who was the other team? There was another team representing City in the case. There was also somebody.
Was it Villa?
Villa and Everton swapped. I know Everton definitely swapped.
Well, somebody mentioned to me, because I never knew the answer to this. He says because they were trying to put blocks in our sponsor deals. I refuse to believe that Newcastle's owners and City's owners haven't been in contact, right? Because they're both from the Middle East, right? It's blatantly obvious. Why didn't City's owners get like a sponsor at Newcastle and the Saudi sponsor City? Somebody mentioned that a few. Is there a rule like you can't do that?
I was about to say that you didn't support, you just abstained from voting.
Yeah.
There was no full support.
Yeah.
This what I mean, Gary. People think that because they're from the same area in the world that we're all sat there holding hands singing Kumbaya. We're really not. We're really not. There isn't. City and Newcastle are basically looking after their own interests.
Yeah, well,
always know this is the big thing, Baz. I've said this to them in my own. People got this thing that everyone's playing nice in the Premier League. Right. Every single person will vote for what helps them at the time.
Yeah, well,
Everton have literally jumped in and out and swapped sides because at the time when Everton were voting, it was because of their PSR situation. Once their PSR situation had been sorted, they went back to the other side again because that's what then suited them.
Yeah. Well, and this will probably shock a lot of people, but PSR got voted in by 14 clubs.
Yeah, it wasn't just the cartel. I know everyone loves this idea.
And this is why I don't go down the corrupt side anymore and all this sort of stuff. Is that the problem we had is that when PSR was voted in, we had Mike Ashley as our owner.
It's perfect for him, PSR.
Yeah, Mike Ashley took the decision what was best for him and his interests at the time when he was owning our football club, and went, PSR is perfect. I can't spend money now because I can't get the commercial growth.
You know right now, we would have signed 2 players under Mike Ashley because he would have sold Tino Livramento to City right now, and Isak would be at Liverpool.
Yeah.
He would have done it. We would never be in a PSR where we couldn't get any further because he would have done them deals. And City would have got Livramento for £60 million with. There's no doubt about it. And Isak would have gone
anywhere near where we are because he wouldn't have spent the money in the first place to get these players in. But this whole thing that the Premier League's corrupt, PSR is holding back.
Garbage.
It's the reason why PSR came in is because 14 Premier League clubs voted it in. That's more than 6. 14 teams that voted in, and Newcastle were one of them. Villa were one of them. You know, a lot of the clubs who are now complaining about PSR were actually the reason why PSR is happening. It has happened, sorry. So we've got to stop this whole
actually as there was 2 teams that actually voted against it. City were one, and I can't remember the other one. The rest abstained, 14. But it doesn't matter anyway. It's like you said, once you get that majority 14 vote, this is why I push back when everyone says it's Masters. It's not.
It's not.
Masters is not. The best way I can describe it is the Premier League. Is anyone a member of a golf club?
I was a while ago, yeah.
You know, so you have a golf committee, don't you? A captain, chairman, a treasurer, a secretary. Yeah. That's what the Premier League is. But the people who actually vote on the golf rules are the members. Yeah. The 20 Premier League clubs are the members. They all go to a vote down in London or wherever it is. Sometimes it's Yorkshire, sometimes it's London, or it can be anywhere. And they sit down and they go, right, these are the proposals put to us by our members. Do we vote yes or no? And they all vote. That is what the Premier League is. People think it's Masters sat there going, do this, do that, do this, do that. It's not.
No.
The Premier League, I did a show, Turkey's voting for Christmas. United, Arsenal, and everyone else voted for PSR because they thought it would stop City and Chelsea at source. You weren't even in the thought at that point.
No.
It was us and Chelsea. It was stop that in 2012, stop them at source. Then what we can do is, but what they didn't realise was they were stopping themselves. And that's what's happened. And that's what it's crazy. Yeah, but so many people have got this misconception on the Premier League. They really have. Yeah.
Exactly. And there's a good one. Surely fair market value works both ways, stops pay from overpaying, but should have stopped Ashley from underpaying.
Ashley wasn't paying. Ashley wasn't paying no money sponsor-wise to that football club. He had Sports Direct planted anywhere, and he was putting nothing into it. And that's why we're in, why it took a while for them to get going a bit, because his sponsorship deals were an absolute joke.
Yeah. And this is the problem. Even though we were debt-free as a football club, the reason why PSR struck us so bad is because the commercial growth and the commercial revenue just wasn't there.
It's apparently, I don't know how true this is, right? Mike Ashley spent he was there 14 years. He spent £420 million on transfers.
But I bet he made more than that.
Oh, he made a lot more. He made 35 on Carroll. But that's how much that man spent on transfers. And the only time he ever got his pocket, put his money out, was when we got relegated and he bought Dwight Gill and Matt Ritchie and all that, blah, blah, blah. And when we were facing relegation and he had that big January where he bought Sissoko and people like that.
Good for Sissoko.
Yeah, when he panicked.
Which worked.
Yeah. But it was I've never seen we literally had no sponsors, Baz. It was Sports Direct everywhere.
Yeah.
The whole ground was covered in it. You remember it was on the top of the roof and everything. It was bloody awful.
Oh yeah, it was horrible. It made the ground look absolutely disgusting.
And
Let's try and go back to the hierarchy at Newcastle at the moment. What I personally think we are now in a very, very peculiar situation, because Team Season puts out a very, very good point here. Now, I love Eddie Howe. He does as well. Piff need to hire a CEO. It doesn't get pushed around by the manager. I love what Eddie Howe has done, but he can't dictate how the club future is run. We need a CEO with a backbone who sets boundaries. Now, one of the reasons why we seem to be going through more CEOs than transfers in the last 3 windows is that Eddie Howe doesn't like to work with a CEO. Now, I don't know how true that is, but that's what it looks like from the outside looking in.
Do you know what it is? I've been thinking about this. Nobody's a bigger fan than Eddie Howe and me, right? I think he's a brilliant coach, but I think he needs to stick to what he does best. He needs a CEO, but I'm sorry, he needs to learn to work with one. Every other club's got one. I'm sorry, like, it's not the 90s anymore. It's not Alex Ferguson running a football club anymore. And he probably feels like, well, I've done the trophy, I've done the Champions League and all that, and he's probably thinking he's got a lot of power, which he probably has. But he's probably got a bit too much. But I think he just needs to concentrate on what he does best. And that's coaching players on a football pitch. Because I have no doubt in my mind, if he got somebody in who knew what they were doing, who could go out and get some youngsters from Europe, Eddie Howe could turn them into good players. I have no doubt he could.
But isn't Andy Howe and Nicholson meant to find the players? The CEO is meant to sign them, as in just the contracts, and gets them in, and then Eddie Howe coaches them. So why won't Eddie Howe seem to work with the CEO when his job is literally to do that side of it?
Because these CEOs are wanting to bring in certain players, and Eddie Howe doesn't want them.
But isn't the scout meant to be the ones that are saying, like, these are the players that work for Eddie Howe? You now get him to sign the contract.
This is what I don't understand about Howe. If this is all true, right? Why Howe must know that he's got an ability to coach players. So I don't know why he's so against it at times. Like, look what he did to Joe Linton. Joe Linton was a player that we thought was absolutely shockingly bad, that we wanted out of the football club ASAP. Eddie Howe comes in and turns him into one of the favourite players at the club.
Yeah.
And this is what Eddie Howe does. It's like, what are you buying Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento for? Why are you paying 40 million for them? Mitchell didn't want them. You're overpaying. Eddie Howe, no, I want them. I'll turn them into players.
Yeah.
Lewis Hall turned into one of the best left backs in the country, and everybody in the country thinks Tino Livramento is one of the best full backs around now.
Yeah. Like,
his name's in the bloody under 21s and everything at the minute, and that's all down to Eddie Howe's coaching. He's getting the best out of these players and his knowledge. But I think that there's clearly an issue there, because that's two of them he hasn't worked with now. So there's clearly a problem. And maybe Amanda was doing what Eddie Howe wanted, and that's why he liked her.
Maybe, yeah. Martin, from your side of things at Man City, where do you think Newcastle are missing when it comes to a CEO in the transfer side of things? Because we haven't signed anyone for 3 windows. Things don't seem to be right. What have you got let's forget about PSR and all that sort of stuff, but what have you got in your backroom staff that we're missing at the moment?
Your manager has too much power.
There we go. A lot of people have said that.
Your manager has too much power. And they don't mean it's to be awful. He doesn't have the track record to have that power.
100%.
When it
No, you're going to look at me now. Promoting Bournemouth and getting Newcastle in the Champions League is not a track record.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that.
He doesn't give a monkeys about Newcastle getting in the Champions League, mate. He looks at him and he goes, who the hell are you?
Yeah, but
and I mean that with every kind of respect of. This is the part. I think I mentioned this 3 years ago. Eddie Howe is treating Newcastle like it's a bigger version of Bournemouth for me.
That's an interesting take.
It's like he's got Bournemouth on steroids. The trouble is, Newcastle fans and Newcastle want to go to Real Madrid, City, Liverpool levels, PSG levels, not be Bournemouth on steroids.
Mm.
And that's the problem with Eddie Howe. When Eddie Howe is going for all these sort of players, which, yeah, like you said, Joe Linton, excellent player, absolutely tremendous. Bruno, brilliant player, one of the best. For me, I think Newcastle had one of, if not the best midfielders in the whole of the Premier League last year. You know, hands down. But the trouble is, you want to get better now.
Mm.
So to go to the next level, you now need, you're coming out of the players that are sort of also rants, and you're making them world class. You're now going to the next level to make them even bigger again. So this is where, like, how do I put it? I'm trying to think of a good example of City the way we did it. ADB, for example, we got absolutely slaughtered for buying money on him. Slaughtered. We got told 60 odd million was a disgrace. It was an embarrassment. Just one player of the year. Or an Omar Mamouche, for example, burning it up in the Bundesliga, ripping it up. I think it was 27 up to 30 G&A at the time, was ripping it up. You go and look, 60 million quid, do that deal. Because 60 million quid in the Bundesliga will buy you far more than what 60 million quid in the Premier League is going to buy you.
Exactly.
60 million quid in the Premier League doesn't even get you a Langer anymore, which you're seeing now. It gets you an Omar Mamouche, which at the time was, you know, one of the best players in Bundesliga, was actually outperforming Florian Wirtz at the time, and still was, right up till the day he left Leverkusen. And that's not a dig at Liverpool spending the money, just saying that's how good Omar Mamouche was. That's where your scouts come into play. That's where Paul Mitchell goes, right, I know where I'm looking at. So Hugo Biano, we had Cheeky Bernstein, who was outstanding. Yeah, you're always going to get a miss in 10 years. Of course you have. You've got a 10-year track record, you'll get a miss. But 9 times out of 10, he knew what he was doing. Haaland's release clause, 50 million quid. He went and got a David Silva 25, Yaya Toure 25, which was a lot of money back then. Still a lot of money.
Great signing, though.
Great signings, though. But even now, you look at Hugo Biano, Victor Hayes, 19 years old, 25 million quid from Palmeiras. You look at Kushanov, 30 million euros from Lons. But what we do is, where City are clever is, we sweeten the pot. We what City like to do is we're not one of these teams that come in and rip all your stars apart. We want to help you. So with Lons, right, we're taking cushion off. We've got this Juma Bar here. Why don't you have him for the rest of the season and we'll sweeten the pot for you? Juma Bar plays exceptional for Lons. To a point where Leon now want him.
Right. Yeah, so you're obviously using the loan system with your young players.
You've got to do clubs nowadays. If you notice, some clubs will only work with other clubs. You build a relationship with them. You build a rapport with them. You build a situation like that. And that is something that Eddie Howe cannot do because he is a manager. He doesn't negotiate contracts. He doesn't negotiate terms. And with all due respect, his nephew's never really done that because he was a scout.
Well, that's it. His nephew's a scout, and Nixon's a scout, and we're missing that person who was agreeing the contracts, and that's why things are going. Yeah, we had
one. We've got rid of him. We had supposedly one of the best.
Look at Paul Mitchell's thing at Monaco. People said he was the reason Monaco were doing so well over that time period. So why not use that experience?
You tell me.
What it is to me from the outside is he's gone, right, I want to go to the European market. I'll get you and is it a Clush or something, the guy at Monaco? We'll go and get you these young players for 30, 40 million quid. Yeah? And we'll do it that way. Well, Eddie Howe's gone, no, I want Tyler Diblin. I want this guy. He wants the English Premier League boys. And one thing I will say, there is no such thing as a Newcastle tax. I'm sick of hearing that, by the way. It is a Premier League tax. Take Newcastle, it's Premier League tax. Because Manchester City get done the same way. Not everyone can have their own tax. It's just Premier League tax. There's a Premier League tax. Because City have to pay 30, 40 mil on top. We've not bought a homegrown player in 4 years. Nearly. Grealish was the last homegrown player we bought. Cost us 100 million.
Yeah. And it cost you 100. You know what it is? It frustrates the hell out of me why we don't go abroad more. Because our best signings, right, since the takeover have been abroad, right? And
Tonali,
we paid 55 million for Tonali, for Christ's sake, right? City have just paid. I mean, Martin, look, I think the signing of the season's Rangers, right? If I pronounce his name right, I think he's quality. And I think he's going to turn out to be quality. What's he going to be worth?
45 million quid.
45 million quid for him. How much will he be worth at the end of the season? Watch this. And it's like, this is what frustrates me about Newcastle. We could go out and get 10 times better quality in Europe. We've proved it. We can do it. We've done it before with it. And it frustrates the hell out of me why we're fanning on as much as I like Charles Pedro. 70 million is not worth it.
How do I mean this? I'm trying to say this in a disrespectful way. They've all Cherka, Reinders, and Ain't Nori have all done interviews. In the first line of their interviews, to talk about working with Pep Guardiola.
Yeah.
Don't mean it's in their own way. People are not clambering over gates to get into Eddie Howe's wheelhouse.
Yeah, but everyone inside our football club, every player like Tino Livramento, Lewis Hall, everyone of that, they love working with Eddie.
Yeah, because they've got to get through the door.
No, they might. I agree with you, Baz. But and I want to try and keep this subject away from it all. But Livramento gets to try start working with Pep and Eddie. There's only going to be one winner.
Oh, I mean, that's it.
That's my point. No, that's my point.
Yeah,
Newcastle have to get to. I'm not saying sack Eddie Howe. You take the power off him a bit. Take the power off him a little bit.
I think you're right. I think he needs to live.
He's got the power of Ferguson without the record of Ferguson behind him. Guardiola doesn't have that much power behind him.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because
I love Eddie Howe. I do. He's been fantastic for it. But I think he's right. I think he needs to concentrate. Like,
purely on
you shouldn't be in charge of this shit. He shouldn't be. He shouldn't be dictating which players he wants all the time.
I'd understand why he wants to be involved a little bit, because, like he's always said, he wants to look into a player's eyes. He wants to see if they're the right
he's got to be involved.
You know what I mean?
Every manager should be involved in a transfer.
But, like, trust your staff, and your staff see, I think I found this kid from abroad, and I think he's going to be a good footballer. Trust them. Nixon's proved it. Nixon's not an idiot. He's a good scout. He knows what he's doing.
I ain't talking about loaning this guy. Wasn't there? I read somewhere you're loaning this kid.
Who?
Which one, son?
Which the kid you've just bought? The youngster, what's it called?
Oh, Cordero. They're sending him out on loan straight away.
Yeah, sent him out on loan straight away.
He's playing in the Spanish league. He's playing.
But how does City get Echeverria? How does City get an Alvarez at 40 million? How do we get an Akanji at 40 million? They aren't out there. I'm not having this that they're not out there.
No, they are. They're, of course,
Julian Alvarez for 40 million quid, and we sold him for nearly 90.
Do you know? You know what it is? There was a player we were linked with a year and a half, and it didn't happen. That player was Huyson. 17 million we got quoted, and we didn't buy him for whatever reason. We scouted him time and again.
We couldn't afford it.
Yeah, scouted him time and again. And for whatever reason, we didn't buy him, possibly because Eddie Howe didn't want him, or something like that, because he didn't know enough about him. Then he gets to Bournemouth, and then all of a sudden, £50 million sale of Real Madrid.
It was purely down to PSR, that one, Gary. It was literally PSR. Yeah.
Well,
we
I'll tell you what,
but we couldn't afford him because of PSR. Otherwise, we would have been in the same situation as we were in the summer, having to sell an Anderson and Minter to balance the books. And obviously, we didn't.
Do you know what it is?
Do you know what it is? I'll tell you what would have happened if Amanda Staveley was in charge. We would have bought him and worried about it later on down the line. And that is the problem we've got now, is we had a risk taker who could see what was needed at the time on the short term, but didn't think about the long term as much. Now, when they've gone, we've now got people thinking long term, very long term, which me and Martin have had a separate conversation about. And the short term it's tough shit. You know, we'll buy what we can to stay within those boundaries, and we will not put ourselves in that situation where we need to sell by the 30th of June to balance the PSR books again, because we'll just get our pants pulled down.
Look, I don't know what's going to happen this window, right? I've got no idea right now. I'm not going to lie. It's not looking brilliant, right? But you still don't know. But the more we keep doing this, right, at some point, them players, injuries going to kick in. We are going to drop, right, if we don't start acting. Because we can't keep doing this in windows where we're doing nothing. Like, literally nothing. We'll buy this and we'll buy that. It's just not going to work. They need to come up with a solution, whether that's the sell a player or do what they're doing. They can't keep doing what they're doing, especially in the last 3 windows. It's just going to kick in eventually. And look, are you mentioning sponsors, right?
We can talk about sponsors.
Right, because I've got the sponsors on the board, right? This is from our official website. This is one of the main gripes I have with this football club, because the sponsors are shit, right? Pardon me, French, but they're crap. What I've got here is Salah, Adidas and Noon, Doddle deals to do, right? Sportsbet.io, JD, BetMGM, Saudi, right?
Got Monster.
2088.
Monster?
No, it's changed to Red Bull now. Monster disappeared. Okay. Phoenix. Well, I tell you what, they're probably paying for Mark Gillespie's wage, because Phoenix are just about, like, they're struggling. Like, they're in debt as well. InPost, VT Markets and Calling. That's our sponsors. They're shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, they're shit. They're shit sponsors.
Where's the training ground sponsor?
Exactly.
They floated the idea and did a survey on whether they would be happy if we renamed St. James's Park. Everyone said as long as the money goes back into the football club, do it. And they haven't bothered. There's no training kit sponsor either. There's no training ground sponsor itself.
There's nothing. This said from minute one. Yeah. Minute one, we need sponsors. Sponsors have to grow this football club. Yeah. They've done that. That's the best they've come up with.
Put that one back up where Ian's put that. It's a great point. The 38% growth. 38% growth from what? I find this hilarious when football fans do this. 38% growth. Growth from what? 38% of a pound's what? Come on. Think about it. Yeah, well, what is the 38% of?
It's a good question.
Yes, it may be good for you, but is it good in comparison to the other clubs, Ian?
Yes. Well, I think it is, because I think we're one of the fastest growing clubs because we've got a lot of scope to be able to do that, because we're starting from scratch in a way. So the percentage growth looks good, but the actual total amount you're talking about is going to be very significant. Because
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because potentially you could get a 10% growth, and we can get a 38% growth, but your 10% will be more than our 38 because it's grown off a higher
amount. That's what I'm saying. It never closes. Yeah. And the trouble is, it's not having the growth, but I think it's showing this year is you look at anyone now, is 60 mil. 60 mil seems to be the bottom line asking price. You seem to be pulling away from every £60 million deal. So if 60 is too much, where'd you go?
Yeah. Not this country at all.
Because if Alanga is now too much and João Pedro's too much,
where do you go?
Where'd you go?
You're not looking at proven players then, are you? Because then you're looking at trying to find a team with momentum again. Yeah. There's one for you, Martin. Sorry, Gary, but we're waiting for City's case. I don't think we're waiting for City's case anymore, because we could be waiting for years for that to happen.
No, I think you're right. I don't think they can anymore.
Yeah.
But if we're going to shop in the Premier League market, it's got to get to increase from 60 million.
And you've got to increase the wage, because that's the point. I know, like the UEFA thing. The lucky thing is UEFA, it's only a fine. So I think everyone will start bloody breaking that point soon.
Villa are going to get fined on.
If you want
Barcelona were 400 million over.
Yeah, and they got 200 grand. Yeah,
a 200 grand fine or something stupid like
how
that.
Barcelona get away with it, I do not know. Real Madrid could buy that. Listen, you got to realise there are certain clubs, you know, the old G14, they get away with stuff. If anyone remembers the old G14 that David Gill and everyone was part of, and yeah, the Real Madrid, it was the top 14 clubs around Europe. I think the only way where only place you don't get away with it is Germany because of the 51 rule.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think you can get away with it as much there. Yeah, it's a shame because listen, I've told you privately what I think, Baz, and the trouble is I say it, I get called out under the sun. So
I know.
I won't mention it.
John, with this, look, 33% is great, but what we're trying to explain is that 33% is tiny compared to a 10% on City or Chelsea or something, because they already have the growth. That's the problem. We're playing catch up, and we're never going to catch up. It's going to take years and years.
The thing is, Newcastle, since the takeover, right, we were in an absolute mess, right? We've grown massively. We've won our first trophy. We've got Champions League. That's massive for us, right? But now we need to go. Now we need to take the next step. There's no point in doing all that hard work and then just staying still now or going backwards. So they need to come up with solutions.
Read that though. When Ashley first bought the Toon, our turnover was the same as Spurs.
Yeah, it was.
2 years ago, Spurs' turnover is now 200 million above ours. Now, how long has it took Spurs to get 200 million above us? It's took them 17 years. So we're looking at 17 years to catch up where potentially Spurs are now. So that's
and they're just going to get, and the ones above are just going to get further and further and further away.
Exactly.
But the Premier League's heading this way. At some point, the promoter teams haven't got a hope of staying in this league. Not one hope. And it's been proved the last few years. And
JJ, we're not threatened. We just want to discuss it. It's a good
conversation. It's not a threat.
It's wondering what's going on. We love what's happened to our football club. We love the fact that we're competing. We've won our first major trophy. It's absolutely amazing. But we're just confused from the takeover, what was said, to where we are now down the line, where we've had 3 fruitless windows and we've had more CEOs and we've had players come in. And we're just wondering what's going on, because everything seems to be falling apart in the back room side of things, where the football on the pitch and the players on the pitch at the moment is outstanding. And it's the balance is like this, and we need the balance to be like this. And this is what we're discussing.
This is the point. That means nothing. That means, you know what? That means now. And it isn't 100 to 1, by the way. But hey,
there we go.
This is the thing. I think some of your fans think rich owner means rich club.
Yeah, that drives me nuts.
Because we have rich owners, we have a rich club. It's a business.
Yeah,
it's not the way business works.
Yeah, someone said something like, we've got the richest owners in the world and we can't spend the money. It's like, well, it's first of all, it's not our money. Piff's money is Piff's money. Newcastle United is a separate business that can only spend what they generate. And yes, Piff can plough money into it up to a certain amount. Obviously, that is set by Premier League rules and all this sort of stuff. But just because Piff have got, trillions of pounds doesn't mean Newcastle's got that money. They haven't. It's their business. Their whole umbrella has got that £1 trillion. Piff are the owners, Newcastle United.
Yeah, it's as though Newcastle are the trillionaires and Piff
we're not.
And it's not the way it works. Listen, if you want me to be honest with you, Sheikh Mansour's a trillionaire. When you actually look at his portfolio. But we just don't, people don't get it. It is PSR and the way football finances run is in what your club makes. Club makes. And I'm sorry, Newcastle make a drop in the ocean compared to the other big teams in the world. You are improving. That is amazing. But this comes back to my next question. What are the expectations? This is the problem. What are the expectations?
See, my expectations aren't set until we've had our window and shut and we're ready for the start of the season. So my expectations right now, if we don't sign anyone, we're going to struggle to finish, I would say, between 6th and 8th. Because not signing anyone would be a disaster, because everyone's aware of our players now. They're aging. We need fresh blood in this team. We need more quality. We need better strength and depth. We're in 4 competitions. We cannot cope with our squad size the way it is right now. With the quality that's on the bench, we will struggle big time. So I don't want to put any expectations on until we've actually signed some players. If we sign 3-4 quality players, my expectations will rise a little bit to say we should be able to have a decent Champions League campaign, and we should also be looking at top 7. Like to get back in the Champions League again, but I don't know. I think the spending changes on the 1st of July. I got what Stefan said on previous show, but believe they want that for... Yeah, I get what you mean, but what Stefan said is basically if you sign someone now, the amortization of a transfer will be 7 days. So it will make absolutely no difference to the PSR books this year because it will be so minuscule of what it would be. But what it will do is it will obviously have effect on the next year's, and which it will do on the 1st of July anyway. So I think we're waiting till the 1st of July because we want to sell a couple of players, and then we know exactly where we stand to where we need to buy players. And I think that's the difference, because what Stefan did say and confirm, which I didn't realize, is if you sell a player right now, the whole fee goes on this year's books and nothing goes on next year's books. So we will not sell a player until the 1st of July. And then I think we will start to look at them bringing players in, I think. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, no, listen, I completely get it. I completely get it. It's very hard. It's very, very hard. I mean, the trouble is, I'm trying to guess, what is it you have got? What is it you've got on wages? What is it you've got? Because this Parliament in the minute includes wages, agent fees, and like Stefan said in the last one, you don't know where your bonuses are for winning, getting the Champions League, winning the cup. You don't know what the bonuses are and where they are.
Yeah.
Because you only get 2 million quid. You only get around 2 million quid for winning the Carabao, you know.
Oh, I know. It's not a lot of money at all.
It's not worth. So the trouble is their bonuses bigger worth than the value of the cup? You would not like to think so. You'd like someone was a bit clever and made it £100,000. £100,000 a piece, though, to how many players were involved?
In the Carabao Cup, the whole squad. Yeah. The whole squad will get the bonus.
That's your Carabao Cup winning money gone in one gulp.
Mm. Yeah, that is where.
No, I was just asking a question, Margot. I'm just asking a general.
No. This is about the thing about PIF being the rich, you know, and it's not our money. Bloody people.
No, I was responding to Ian. I was responding to Ian in the chat
right.
Because it doesn't matter how they are, because City's and Newcastle's revenue is light years, but we're nearly 3 times the revenue.
Yeah, so, exactly.
I don't. It's a silly argument to get involved in, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. The way I look at it, growth, if you win a 5% growth, that is probably the same growth if we win 40% because of how much you already earn. That's just simple math, isn't it? Selling Longstaff and Willock would be a very sensible thing to do, but maybe not because of the local quartet when it comes to the Champions League. I don't know, but I would like to see both of them sold now. And if we can get, I know, but if we can get 40 million for them too, having 25 for Willock, 20 million for Sean Longstaff, I think that would be very, very good business. And that would help with PSR, because obviously Sean Longstaff will be pure profit. And Willock, I think he's only got 2 years left on his contract, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. But 25 million would be a good bit of business. A drop in the ocean. The PIF have just spent 2 billion on that Daft Cup. Yeah, they have, but that's their money, not Newcastle.
So I mean, I don't know what you're getting all personal with me, but it's not my fault.
Additional revenue from non-match days. Yeah, exactly. But as you keep saying, CEOs buying and bringing in players from other clubs. There's a job to run the day-to-day aspects of the club is down to the DOF to find the players to suit the manager's style. But the scouts are there to find the players that suit the manager's style. Then there needs to be someone who negotiates the contracts and signs the actual players and signs off on the fees. Whether you want to call them DFOs, CEOs, COs, whatever you want to call them, there's a structure. And we are missing that structure at the moment, which is costing us. Yeah, Baz, that's literally what I said. I understand what Stefan said. Yeah, I know, but I'm explaining it for everybody because not everyone might watch the show, Blade, who's watching right now. So you've got to take it into context. When we read something out, people who are watching might not realize what we're talking about. You try to cater for everybody who's watching. It's like a child saying they are rich because their parents have money. Yeah, bingo. That's a great way of saying it. My dad's got this and my dad's got that. It's like, well,
you say City are rich.
You haven't.
Real Madrid are rich.
Yeah.
United are rich.
Yeah.
This is the problem. This is what we're trying to say is that, yeah, we are the rich clubs. And that's not a flex. That's not me saying anything bad. I'm just saying that's the way it is.
Tottenham could spend £400 million and not break players. They've just got owners who don't do it. And we couldn't do that. Honestly, we couldn't do it.
The thing that
rich club
is people say stuff.
Right, I've got to answer this very quickly. Right, so it all depends. If my penis was already 12 inches longer, I'd rather it just grew 5%. But if my penis was only 5 inches, I'd rather it grew 38%. There's the difference. That's what I mean by it. So yeah, probably I don't know, but there we go. It doesn't matter what they own. It City as a football club has its own business, and they're worth a lot more than what Newcastle are worth, and that's where the problem is. The other problem we've got is if you look at our Twitter account, we've got, let's say how many fans we've got now. I know it sounds daft. Yeah, I know it sounds daft to think that Twitter, is the be all to end all, but we've got 2.8 million followers on our Twitter account. Then you go to Man City. And Man City have got 18 million. So that means we are 15.2 million people behind Man City when it comes to support. And that's why
Gary just said we just opened a superstore in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
We've got we had a superstore in where is it in America? Where it's very hard to get real estate. Some at Square Rock, some in New York. Anyway, there was a really hard place in New York and we got a shop there. This is what I mean, City and everywhere. I know, but that's took us. People think, you got to remember, our owners are 2008, 18. They're nearly 20 years into this.
Yeah. Do you know what it is? Look, I'm not building us up here, but I've just come back from Turkey, and you see your Real Madrids, your Barcelona shirts, you name it, right? But literally every other shirt I saw in them shops, doesn't matter which one it was Premier League shirts, and it was the Six, and there was one other team, and that was Newcastle. I didn't see any Villa tops. I didn't see God knows what. I was there for a week, didn't see it. So we might be growing a bit, but we're still, like I said, I you know what it is? I was always hopeful that we would do it one day, but I think it's too big. I think PSR's just done it. And I just can't see us break. I cannot see we're doing it. We'll break this 6 every now and then, but
Newcastle will. It's just about being the patient situation. And again, and I'm not trying to cause storm in a teacup here. Sorry, Baz. You can get out of this very quickly and speed the process up, but you don't want to do it, and that's fine.
Solid player.
No, but I don't mean that in the thing of one player out for very good money takes 3-4 years off this whole process, and you go quicker.
But they've got to do
The
it.
trouble is, you
which
don't want to
player?
do it, and that's fine. That's up to you to do then.
It's obvious which player it is. It's blatantly
Oh,
obvious.
there is obviously big interest in two of our players. Obviously, Tino to City, 60 million, which is a record fee for a fullback. It would be. I mean, I had this discussion with Ian. I say do it because it's a hell of a lot of money and it's a record fee, and you could buy another right back, quality right back, for about 30 million potentially. And then take it from there, and you get, obviously, the other thing is if you get offered 150 million for Isak, can we afford to turn it down?
No, you can't. I love Isak. I do, but we can't afford to turn 150 million down.
Yeah,
and it's. I don't want Isak to go. Bloody hell, we've got to replace it.
How much? How much?
Well, Ian just said, would you sell Haaland? And it all depends on the price, because
Yeah,
I've spoken to Martin, and Martin would sell Haaland for a certain price.
Yeah.
And I would sell Isak for a certain price. It would have to be 150 million.
But as long as they replace it. As long as they replace it.
No, the trouble is, my thing is, and I've said this to you, Baz, Newcastle seems to be the only people that you're barred from buying from. Every other club in the Premier League has to sell by Newcastle.
Yeah, but the problem we've got,
they take it in a personal manner. Like, how dare you? And it's not personal; it's business. It's just
not that. It's Martin. The problem we've got is our reserve players aren't good enough to step into the first team. That's
the problem.
Where you could sell a quality player, and then there'll be someone just seriously going into the team where we don't have that.
It's not that bad. It's you can grow as quick or as fast as you want, and you can sell and buy whoever you want. But don't moan when it's slow. Don't moan when you go to Brentford and they say 60 million for Bremo or 200 grand a week, and you go, we haven't got that money. Well, you know what I mean? The problem is Newcastle. I'm going to be honest with you. And I've had it in my chat, some Newcastle fans take it personal and get very angry and disrespectful and nasty. I got called a see you next Tuesday the other day by a Newcastle fan just because I was talking Libermento. I shouldn't have to be called a see you next Tuesday because of that. But with respect, Libermento is going to win the league quicker at City than what he will Newcastle.
Oh, of course he is.
There is a shot. If Erling Haaland, if some club comes along and says 200 million for Erling Haaland, I'd sell him.
He's not worth 200 million though.
But he is. So at the end of the day, if
he's worth 200 million, he's actually worth 200 million.
No, but that's just football. We had to sell Alvarez. Liverpool had to sell Coutinho. Aston Villa had to sell everyone.
Well, Grealish
United
was the big one,
sell,
wasn't he?
Tottenham sell, everyone sells.
The problem is we sell and we're struggling because we have to then buy where it makes us look panicking, doesn't it? That's the thing.
I'm telling you now, for the next 2 years, we need to sell a player, right? I don't want to, but we have to sell a player. And we have to target Europe for 2 years. None of this Premier League crap, unless Lewis Hall pops up for 20 million, whatever, or a Dan Burn pops up for 10 million. But very unlikely, that's what we need to do. Look, I have no doubt James Trafford will be a good goalkeeper, but the 140 million £1.
That's because they want us to pay the salary.
Yeah, well, that's fine. The 140 I've got no problem with how much people want to play.
Because I think there's arrogance from Newcastle fans back now.
No, we don't have to sell any player. Look if we don't, we're not going to grow.
Look how they're reacting on Elanga and Pedro and all them. It works both ways. It's like anyone comes to Newcastle wants a player. It's a world record fee. You go to Newcastle, Nottingham Forest. Well, Alanga's worth 70 mil to them.
Oh yeah. Well,
you want to buy him at 40 mil. So how's that fair? You want it both ways. Oh no, when I say you, I mean some want it both ways, Gary. You want to buy cheap but sell huge, and then when anyone does that the other way, they're wrong.
Well, I'm one of
That's
those.
football fans. That's football fans, Gary. That's how all football fans are.
Yeah,
They all want to buy.
I'm one of those. I'm literally, teams can charge what they want for me for a player. It's their player. I've always been the same, and I've started to learn the last year and a half about this PSR stuff, and I remember Gordon getting linked to Liverpool last season. It's a year ago, and I'm going, no, didn't do this, that, and the other. I'm getting to this stage now where Newcastle are never going to grow until they start trading properly. And we just don't do it properly. We don't do it. Yeah, we haven't got PSR problems, but we haven't got PSR problems are like, we don't have to sell a player. It doesn't mean we can't go out and spend a fortune.
We're getting rid of Gundogan. Gundogan's off to Galatasaray.
Yeah,
we haven't got PSR problems.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's just what it is.
Another
one pushing off might be going out on loan. Believe it or not.
I mean, this is a great point from Ferguson. Like I say, we're not like all doom and gloom at all on this. We're just having a conversation about what's going on, because it's good banter, and nobody else is talking about it. No one seems to dare to want to challenge the hierarchy because they're scared of what people might think of them or say about them. But it's got to happen. We do have a great team spirit, but that team spirit was much better when Amanda and Murdad were here. Now, they've obviously lost their jobs because they did things wrong way. They cost us Anderson and Minter. But I said to Martin the other day, it's like that was doing it the Villa way, and Villa is still doing it now. They're trying to buy and trying to sell and balance the books every summer. We can do that if we want to, but we don't want to. That's the difference. So we're taking the slower approach, but there's still ways of growing this football club faster with all these commercial deals that we do not have in place, that we all thought were coming into place. And why has that not happened? And I don't think, I mean, I always thought it was to do with Man City's case and we were waiting for it to be resolved and seeing what the outcome is. I don't believe that anymore because it's taken too long. I think there's something, it's either someone's not in place doing it right, or the Premier League are not sanctioning our deals because they're saying it's not fair market value or whatever it is. But someone, I mean, it would be nice. They don't have to. They probably won't. But it would be nice for someone from the club to come out like Amanda would do and say, right, we've got this on the table, that on the table. We're doing this. We're pushing for
How
this.
often would you want that?
We don't have that.
Sorry to jump in. How often would you want that? Because I'll think about City. We only hear from the club once a year. We only hear from Calhoun at his end of year speech.
So maybe we've been spoiled then. Maybe we've been spoiled with Amanda and Murdad.
Yeah, none of our people talk like that.
Yeah. So there you go. So maybe
they're too busy. You look at Calhoun. Yeah. Calhoun was in America 2 months ago dealing with, well, I won't mention his name because it causes issues, but he's doing deals there. Do you know what I mean? We're talking billionaires, trillionaires here. They're busy. Sheikh Mansour's not been to the stadium for a long time. He was at the Champions League final.
Hope you're well, Chaz.
You know what I mean?
I mean, it doesn't have to be the owners. It could be someone, like you say, Amanda Murdad only had a 11% stake in the club, but they were still very vocal, and they made us feel part of the football club, which I think you guys have lost a lot because of the takeover.
It's going to happen.
And now we are seeing that. We are now.
You know, prices have gone up. You got a membership. They're going to do, and listen, you can build a stadium. You can do this big stadium and have a big old jolly up time and think you're getting 20,000 extra Geordies in the door. You're not. You're going to get a lot of corporate in the door. That's just football now. Yeah. People got to realise what football is. It's not for the working man anymore. The days of Saturday 3 p.m. kickoffs are dead.
Well, that's completely gone now.
Yeah. Football is now a global phenomenon and not for the people 5 minutes down the road. Keep saying it. I've said it to you last time. They're not building a hotel 5 minutes down the road from me.
No, I get that. Belly, for me, I wouldn't sell Gordon, to be honest with you. I really like Gordon. I would sell Barnes before I would sell Gordon.
You're not gonna. The problem with that is you're not gonna get as much for bonds.
I reckon you get 40, 50 maybe.
If we offered
Yeah.
80 for the Memento, would you sell? Say we did 80.
Yes. I think you have to at that price.
Oh,
I hate the idea of it. Don't get me wrong. I
It's a
don't
world
want to sell them,
record.
but-
No, forget it's world record.
Yeah, I know. For me, it just releases the funds for bigger and other things for us, I guess.
do you know what it is? You know, if we had a 28-year-old Kieran Trippier, I would say yes.
Just let you know, you're never
80
getting anyone else for 80.
80 million. I reckon.
80 million is not. This is what I mean. We're talking world record fees here.
I'm
Your
not.
plays are good.
everybody-
They're not that good. They're not that. And with respect, that's what I'm saying.
I-
You're talking best fullback in the world there. Level.
I'm a big Tino Livramento fan. I think he's class, but I mean, 80 million's a lot for a fullback.
I mean,
Like, it's a
someone for
lot
me
of money.
through the
World
Milford
record fee, isn't
Island,
it?
I'll drive him to the airport.
It's. I mean, just say. I mean, bloody hell.
Some people are
I
saying
think
no,
the only player,
and some people are saying yes.
the only player I would say
Still
in
no.
his prime years ago, somebody like Cafe would have been higher than that. But you're like, for a fullback, that's a lot of money.
Roberto Carlos.
Yeah, but that's left back, isn't it? I'm thinking right back.
And
Oh,
by the way,
um,
I think
fullbacks
80's
in
too
general.
much. I think 80's too much. I don't think he's worth 80. So I don't think
I think
he's the
80's too
world-
much.
I don't think he's the world's best fullback.
No,
I
he's
don't
not.
think
The
he
guy
gets
at
enough.
PSG is Hakimi. Is it Hakimi?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, he's the best fullback in the world. He's unbelievable. Livramento, 50 million, and McAtee. It's not a bad shout, is it? Apparently, we have
See-
interest in McAtee.
The problem is though, swap deals didn't happen now, do they? Like it. I don't think they include it now because of PSO and all that. I like McAtee. I think he's. Look,
Oh,
the
wow.
what. I like Oscar Bob, mate, but I don't know what his situation is at City at the minute. What's his situation
going
at the minute,
anywhere.
man?
Not
No
going
way.
anywhere.
Because I'm a big fan of
May
him.
go
but-
alone, may look at a loan deal, but he's not going to be sold. He's due to be the next Foden.
Busy. Would you
Really?
sell Foden? Would you sell Foden? I've always been curious of that one. No.
Would you not? I don't think he's.
I think Phil Foden is one of the. I think one bad season doesn't mean
No, I
he's
don't.
a bad player.
No, 100%
He's won
not.
2 PFA, Young PFA Player of the Years, 1 Player of the Year award. He's my favourite ever player. I've never understood. I think you can play him as a 10 and put Cherky on the right.
How much did he pay for Walker?
50.
There
That was
we
10
go.
years ago.
Yeah.
And we got told we were stupid then.
Quality. He is quality. Was quality. He's done now. He's finished. Right. We'll have to leave it there because we've been on longer than I expected. And Gaz has got to put the kids to bed, and Martin's got to rest and get his.
I was doing that 10 minutes ago.
I'm not
man,
even
that's
getting
why I
4
took it.
hours. Club World Cup. You'll be
Club
there
World
one day,
Cup.
Baz.
God
I'm
knows when
joking.
that'll
Bit
be,
of
though.
banter. Bit of banter
knows.
before everyone comes after me.
Foden should ever play as his player. Every player
No,
has his
Phil
player.
Foden's the only one who doesn't. He's out of that academy. He's a blue, boyhood blue. He's out.
You know what it is, though?
Livramento wasn't out of your academy. He was out of Chelsea's. Don't try that one.
I thought he was out of yours. No, it was Chelsea, wasn't it? Chelsea went to Southampton.
No,
then Southampton.
Yeah,
Chelsea.
he was out of Chelsea,
Yeah.
Southampton. Foden is a blue. Cut him open, bleeds blue.
Fair enough. Right, everyone, thank you so much for making this a great show. Thanks for your opinions. Yes, we don't always agree, but I hope to think that we've been respectful in those opinions and you've took something out of the show and enjoyed it. Thanks to Gary, as always, and Martin as well. We'll see Martin's face a lot more on this channel, and I'll be on his channel, hopefully a lot more as well, because we have a little
Oh, brother.
fun. Yeah, the Oil Brothers are getting together to do some shows. And yeah, so I don't know when the next show will be, to be honest with you, but we'll do our best to get one put out. Buddy Dad UK says, great discussion. Cheers, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in, mate. Really appreciate it. I'll just do the usual stuff without trying to cough my lung off. Diacro, amazing sponsors, 20% off using code BAZ20. Link is in the description. Don't forget about Geordieland Experience. So if anyone's from outside of the Northeast who wants to come to the Northeast and experience everything, they're the guys to go to. Thank you to Henderson's Taxis for sponsoring our football game, which Martin is going to be coming up and doing the commentary for on the 3rd of August. We've got Peter Beardsley playing. I can't fucking believe it. And this is how the running of the day is going to go. I have a live raffle that's not on the day. It's right now. It'll be drawn on the 4th of August. They're the prizes. Absolute amazing prizes. £1 a ticket. So if you want to get into this, please contact me personally. Drop me a message on Twitter. My handle is on my name. And you can pick a number and then hopefully you'll win an amazing prize.
And they will be shared out later on as well during the watch along.
Yes, thank you very much. So, yes. So, thank you, everyone. See you again when I can decide what we should talk about next. Take care.